Hello and welcome back to my channel, the very best place to be to discover exactly how your thoughts and your emotions are affecting your whole health. Hi, I'm Andrew Coulter, and last week we talked about grief, all the secret ways that grief expresses itself in your body. And how many did you find that you had? I think actually of that list, at some point in my life I had them all. We all do carry grief, and we all carry emotions of some sort, because sometimes it is just hard to express those emotions. So this week, the next major big emotion and again, this is the one big emotion that women, I find, suppress the most, is anger. Oftentimes because, we don't want to be angry. We want to be loving and kind and wonderful, and we want to be the good girl. Well, sometimes the good girl should be angry. And sometimes we need to learn to express our anger, but in a healthy, constructive way, which I'll go through at the end, so hang around. But first of all, I just want to talk about how anger expresses itself. So this week, I'm just going to go through the list of symptoms that your body may be expressing if you have unresolved or repressed anger. And like I said, a lot of people have some degree of it. Some people have massive degrees of it. As I said in the last video, is if you're getting triggered on a day-to-day basis emotionally, then there's a good bet that emotion is bottled up inside somewhere, and not only are your physical symptoms expressing that emotion in some way, which I'll go through the list, but when you get triggered externally by somebody cuts you off, if you have bad road rage, you probably are carrying a lot of unexpressed or repressed anger, and that's your safe way of trying to just vent it and get rid of it. But maybe not the best way. I'll go through some tips at the end too. Let's go through the list and see, again, get out your pen and paper, maybe make a list of all of the secret little symptoms that are going on that you didn't know were probably linked to some unexpressed anger that you need to work through in the right way. Because even though you may think you're not carrying some of these emotional states, I guarantee you are, and your body is expressing it in some way. So remember, as I said, anger can be expressed obviously by being angry at someone or angry at something or some event. But oftentimes women just suppress it, and then they become sweet and they become the doormat. So if you find that you are that one person in life that, you love everybody, which is awesome, and you're an amazingly heartfelt person, but you get walked all over, you can't say no to anybody. You want to just help everybody, but you get victimized because of it. You get walked on like a doormat. Then the odds are you're carrying an awful lot of repressed anger. And if you feel really strongly about injustices in life, and you're that defender and I'm gonna fix everything, then you're probably carrying a lot of unresolved anger. Again, not a bad thing. We need defenders in life, but sometimes it's when you see those people who are trying to fix and defend everyone and everything, even when it's not asked for. So there's always a time and a place, but if you're over and above, then I bet you're carrying some unresolved emotional baggage that maybe you should work through first, and then go out and defend in the right way. So remember in the last video, I talked about salt, craving salt when there's a lot of grief. Well, sugar is the craving factor of anger. So if you have a massive sugar tooth, then you probably have some unresolved anger. Also, styes. I know this sounds really weird, but whenever I feel like there's something sticking in my eye, I got an eyelash, or I constantly have something falling in my eye and I'm picking at my eyes. So cysts and styes and things like that in the eye area, bizarrely, is a very big indicator that you have some anger that you're not working through. Think about it. If it's something that irritates you and is poking at you, it's trying to get your attention that, hey, are you angry? Are you angry now? Maybe you're angry now. That's kind of what I always think of whenever I'm like, oh my God, I think I need to take some anger remedies because apparently something is bothering me that I'm just not conscious of. And if that's the case, then maybe work through some of the ideas that I'm going to give you at the end. Also cystitis, of course. So anything sticking, pains, irritations, skin irritations, rashes, anything that is bugging you to the point that it makes you frustrated is probably due to unexpressed anger. Another interesting symptom, I would not have been aware of it on my own unless I've seen it in clients, is where you're sleepy all day. You just are dragging your butt around all day. I just feel so tired, but just tired on a real mental, emotional level, not necessarily physically tired, but just that all day, and then can't sleep at night. So insomniacs, who are maybe super tired but just can't sleep, that's a good indication that there's some anger there. Now this one, this is really another emotional state, but depression, which I will go to in another video, but depression is actually unresolved anger. It's not deep grief layers. It's not, oh, I'm so sad. Depression is actually unexpressed, repressed, all out anger. And I'll go through that in another video. And then, like I said, about sticking, irritating pains, it's neuralgia pains. Any kind of neuralgia pain in the body is an unexpressed anger issue. Sticks, pins, needles, arms going to sleep, and pins and needle feelings in the limbs and things like that, all coming from, because again, the neurological system is really where, and the muscular system is where the anger is most held and expressed. So a lot of nerve issues, tinglings and things like that. Twitches and spasms, again, weirdly, I used to get spasms in my eye, or you can eye twitch. I haven't had one of those in a really, really long time, but I've also worked through a lot of my unresolved anger issues. But yep, used to get twitching eyes all the time, or twitching in like some weird muscle group. Again, spasms and twitches, chronic, then that's often an anger issue. Also being prone to accidents and injuries. I know accidents and injuries happen, but I will tell you this, I was a menace in the kitchen. When I was carrying around a ton of unexpressed anger, and I used to deny that I was an angry person. Being prone to hurting yourself or getting into accidents, if you stop and think about the state that you're kind of in when that happens, it's an anger issue. You should be angry about it, but also if you're repressing a lot of anger, then the body's going to try to find some way to let you know. And sometimes if you're just not getting the message, then a big accident is often a good way to express like, hello, you need to work on this issue, stop. And that's often what accidents do, is they make us stop and really take stock and reflect. If we do, not always. Well, sometimes we're just, oh my God, and I suck, and we lay back and we repair, but we don't actually stop to think about why it happened. So if you're having a lot of weird accidents and injuries, or cutting yourself in the kitchen all the time, maybe you want to stop and look at, am I not expressing some anger? Yes, probably. And then the last one that is very, very common is just being prone to infections. Being prone to more infections and more illnesses than you normally should be. Even if you're taking incredible care of yourself, yet you're like, geez, constantly fighting an infection or a boil or a cyst or something like that. That's often anger trying to come to the surface and be released in some way. So any one of those symptoms that you may have, chronic and ongoing, that you're constantly battling for a really long time, then maybe it's time to look at some anger exercises and ways to release some of the anger that you probably are carrying and just aren't really aware of it. Because again, I've been there. I totally denied that I was an angry person for so many years. I mean, anger can come from so many things. Anything, like even common surgeries or needles that you have to have, or any kind of victimization is going to make you feel angry on some level. And unless you honor it, then it's going to be repressed, plain and simple. Everything that affects the physical body and the mental emotional body that wasn't justified can be looked at by yourself as an impingement on your life force. And that impingement, your body takes offense to those. And when you take offense and don't express it properly, then it becomes repressed. And once it's repressed, well, then it's got to find a way to come back out. And so One of those symptoms, like I've just talked about, will be one of the ways, if not many of the ways, it will try to find a way out. And as I said, anger is a good emotion. It's something that we need to express and learn to express as appropriately, not harming another human, but being able to express. So some ways that I often recommend clients help to release some of their anger issues, aside from, I will post a link below to my anger and frustration kit, which is phenomenal at just even unconsciously helping you release some of that emotional baggage that you just can't figure out how to release. And there's lots of ideas and tips and, you know, suggestions in that kit. But a few things I'll give you today is one of the best exercises, aside from remedies, of course, my absolute go-to, is doing breath hugs. So again, contractive, hardened life force, and just the need to express. I actually had one client who, when we finally got to that point in her timeline and she realized all these victimization issues that had happened and how angry she truly was about it, that she didn't allow herself to be angry about, she decided that she needed a way to vent. So one of the ways I usually recommend people vent is some way that just yelling and screaming, but in a safe environment. So in a safe little room, all on your own. So she went to the dollar store and bought cheap glasses, and she had this brick fireplace in her big loft bedroom. And so she would just yell and throw glass against. I imagine it was quite a mess to clean up, but she said it was so cathartic. It made her feel so amazing afterwards. So she would scream at the top of her lung and yell and throw the glass and just, so, you know, pounding a pillow or getting on the bed and literally throwing a temper tantrum all on your own, and maybe thinking of the person or the things that you're angry about. Like, you know, for me, all the old victimization states that I just needed to be upset about, that I never allowed myself to be angry about, just let them go, but in a very safe, you know, in your own environment way. So even if you have to yell, I had this little lady who had been victimized by her mom and her sister her whole life, picked on, treated like shit. And so she called me one day when I was having her do these exercises of, you know, yelling and no. So no is a big word. I want you to yell no, 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 because no is an empowerment word. It's a, I empower me. No more will I be a victim. No more will I let you treat me that way. No more will I be a doormat, you know, whatever you need to do. So this lady had called me and she said, can I swear while I'm doing this exercise? And I'm like, if it makes you feel better to swear, absolutely swear. Do whatever you need to do to vent and release emotionally and physically so that you can let it go. And then grab a kit below and work through the remedies to help you fully heal and resolve it. And you will be an amazing new person by letting go of that unresolved emotional baggage that you're probably carrying, like we all are. Hopefully it's given you some good tips this week. Thanks for sticking around. Remember, I'm going to go through multiple emotional. So next week, I'm going to be talking about resentment. Because when anger festers, when we don't work through it in the right way, which most of us haven't, then it's going to fester and brew. And if we keep denying it and ignoring it, then it's going to work into other states that are sort of offshoots of that anger. And, you know, resentment, jealousies, shame, guilt, these are all big emotions. And so next week I'm going to go into resentment. It's sort of the next offshoot, simple offshoot right off of anger, and I'll go through some of the ways that your body is secretly probably manifesting some resentment issues and some ways that you can work through that. So stick around, remember, ring the bell, subscribe, do whatever you need to do. And so for the rest of this week, thank you for being a part of this and have an amazing health-filled week. And remember, be authentic, be empowered, and own it completely. Bye.